Well, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to our Thoughtful Thursdays. And you've already had a chance to hear from one of our team members, but I'd like to introduce quickly those people that are assisting with this because we may have some new folks today. We find that happens every week. My name is Marcia Getting, and I'm the Family Economics Specialist with Montana State University. I'm in the Department of Agricultural Economics and Economics, and I have a 100% extension appointment, which I'm delighted about. The co-host also is Emily. You've had a chance to hear from her. She's what I call my tech buddy because she's the one that keeps us on track here. And also she hails from Lewistown. So those of you who are out in that part of the country, you've had a chance, I hope, to meet Emily. Oops, we just made a mistake there. So here goes Marcia again. Okay, we've got, then our other co-host is Kevin, and he is Vice President of Development for Estate, Trust, and Gift Planning with Montana State University's Alumni Foundation. And then we have Carrie Hayes. Carrie is the assistant. This is the one that is doing all this background work. In other words, the website that you go to log in and the reminders that you get for the meeting. In addition, she has put together the schedule of what we've got going on, and those directions that Emily were providing, those are also there. And something new that Carrie's added is we've had several people ask us about posts that they can use for social media. Now, I've got to confess, I'm not one of those individuals that even would know how to post one of these, but maybe we have some of you out there. And even though we only have one session left, feel free to go there and post that information. Now, we're very excited that we've got 224 registrations for our Thoughtful Thursdays programs, and that's exciting. Now, of course, the majority of those are from Montana, and I've had individuals that I've dealt with in the past, even sometimes 10 years ago, say, hey, I'm participating in your Thoughtful Thursday. So shout out to Marilyn, shout out to Tom. It's great to hear from you. Then we also have several out-of-staters, and that's great to hear too. And a shout out to Vicki out there in Oregon. So, we do use some engagement tools. And if you haven't participated in a webinar previously, you may not be aware of what we're talking about when we say that. Well, one of those is called a poll, but we like to think of it as questions. So one of the very first questions we have today is we're going back and taking a look at what we did a week ago, and we want to know, what did you accomplish as a result of that particular session? We were talking about the Montana Endowment Tax Credit. So if you didn't attend the session, you just click on A. If you read the Mont Guide about the Montana Endowment Tax Credit, you would check B. If you read also the MSU Alumni Foundation fact sheet, you would check that. And how about conversation with family and friends? Did you tell them about what you learned about through the Thoughtful Thursday webinar we had? And then did you use the MSU Alumni Foundation's website to calculate if you would happen to give a gift to, and not necessarily MSU, but anybody that's a charity or a nonprofit, as long as they're a 501c3, you can take advantage of the Montana Endowment Tax Credit. If there's something else that you did, please feel free to share that in the chat panel. And once you get through with this, what you'll do is hit the submit button that's down there at the bottom of the page. Well, Emily, that was kind of a long one, but what are we finding here? That we do have some individuals that did not attend the session, but we still welcome you to this one. And we've had some that told family and friends about what they did, so that's good. Now let's take a look at questions. That's why we have the chat panel. And so my pine drop here represents a question mark, and those are questions that you may have of any of the three of us. And then the wildflowers, that's kind of my way of trying to make the program a little bit more interesting. So what they serve as reminders of some of the concepts that we'll be discussing today. Now, the very first wildflower we have is called a steer's head. And I use that to indicate the objectives that we have for this morning. We want to steer you to an awareness of charitable gift annuities versus commercial, for example. And we want to steer you towards an awareness of how one of these gift annuities could provide you with income, reduce some taxes, and just gives you that opportunity to support your favorite charity or nonprofit. Now, this is a wood lily, okay? And that makes me think about Emily. Emily, would you please tell us about commercial annuities?
Sure. So the first thing we need to talk about is what is an annuity in general. So an annuity is essentially a contract between an individual and some other party, and that other party can be an insurance company, even another individual, or a charity or nonprofit. The other party in an annuity would agree to pay the individual, and the technical term for that is annuitant, which is kind of hard to say, hard to spell, but that's the jargon you would see if you were reading one of these contracts. So that other party pays the individual regular payments during their lifetime. And with a commercial annuity, typically this is a contract with an insurance company, and that insurance company would pay a sum of money in exchange for regular payments to their company. So monthly, quarterly, yearly, and they may even continue paying benefits to another beneficiary if the original individual passes away. When it's a commercial annuity, there's a couple of different ways the payments can be made. There can be an immediate annuity, which means that the payments would begin immediately. There's also a deferred annuity, which is exactly what it sounds like, that the payments would begin at a determined age or a determined time in the future. With a commercial annuity, you would have two purchase methods. You might give them a lump sum of money right up front, or you might make a series of payments in order to pay for that annuity. With a commercial annuity, there are a few different types of investment performances, like a fixed rate. The annuity might also be tied to something that's equity indexed, like the S&P 500. It could also be a variable rate. These are all the types of questions that you would want to ask if you were looking into a commercial annuity to make sure you know what you're signing up for. Some of the benefits of a commercial annuity is that it has a potentially higher rate of return than a charitable gift annuity. Again, this is dependent on the specific terms of the contract. With a commercial annuity, it's also insured by the insurance company. So that means that it's definitely less risky than, say, entering into an annuity with an individual or something of that nature. With commercial annuities, too, you also have the option to pass that annuity to non-spousal beneficiaries. So a poll question for you, just out of curiosity, so we can sort of gauge the audience. Who here has purchased a commercial annuity? We'll give you just a few seconds to answer because it's a yes or no question. Just remember to hit the submit button once you select. And remember, this is completely anonymous. We're just curious what the audience is like. Okay, so it looks like most folks said no, they don't have a commercial annuity, but we did have some who said yes. So that's good to know, Marsha.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So in thinking about our wood lily, remember our Thoughtful Thursday tip that you would review the MSU Extension Mod Guide about annuities, which is listed under resources on the website and which I will also post in the chat so that you have that link as well. So we have some other flowers here, common beargrass and common butterwort and common blue-eyed grass. So what do all of these have in common? Well, of course, they're all common wildflowers. So, Kevin, these remind me to ask you to share about the common features of a charitable gift annuity.
Sure. Thanks, Emily. So there are three types of charitable gift annuities. So we first have immediate. Again, those payments would begin immediately. There's deferred, so the payments would begin at a designated age sometime in the future. And then we have what's called flexible. So that's a date range that the donors could, or annuitants could choose. They could say, I want to choose between my age of 65 and 75, somewhere in there. I want to decide to begin taking my payments. And if they don't choose during that period of time and their last date comes to pass, then the charity would begin making those payments automatically on that date. And the rates kind of vary based on how long you defer them. So you want to check with your charity. We always encourage that, or nonprofit, to determine the types of annuities they might offer. Some don't offer flexible. Some kind of specialize or focus in more of deferred. The other thing to consider is most have a minimum age at when they will begin making payments. For example, at the MSU Alumni Foundation, we won't make payments to annuitants until they reach age 65. So we've got another poll question here of what assets can be used to fund a charitable gift annuity, and you can check all that you think might apply. So there's some ones that are intuitive. We are the Bitcoin is interesting. We're having more and more conversations about cryptocurrency, and we haven't had that situation yet, but it'll be interesting to see when we do get interest in or someone inquiring about cryptocurrency and contributing that. So we'll see what you guys think as far as any of these or all of these that you might be able to fund a new charitable gift annuity with. Got a few more seconds.
I guess I should have used the term crypto.
Oh yeah, Bitcoin is one.
Bitcoin. I guess in advertising. I might get in trouble. Advertising.
Yeah, I can't even remember off the top of my head what the other cryptocurrencies are. So I'm sure somebody can throw that in the chat. I'm sure they could remind us of the other types of cryptocurrency. So. All right, so we're getting some results coming in. Looks like everybody says cash. Yep. Stocks, yes. Bonds, mutual funds, all that's good. Real estate, we're about split on that one, about 50-50. We'll talk about real estate with charitable gift annuities. Gold coins, not as many think that we could use gold coins. I've had that situation, but we could certainly look at how to liquidate the gold coins and fund an annuity. And then Bitcoin, that one again, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is new and emerging, and charities are having to kind of navigate through that. So some of the benefits of a charitable gift annuity, it could qualify for our Montana endowment tax credit. You get a federal income tax deduction the year the annuity is established. Can remember that if you attended the METC, the Montana Endowment Tax Credit, that Champ wanted to take advantage of that. So in his case, he was all excited because he got a $3,600 credit and that's calculated again 40% of your federal tax deduction. Some other benefits, they're insured by the assets of the charity or nonprofit, and it gives you an opportunity to support your favorite charity or nonprofit. So again, it's important to check with the charity on how they're investing their annuity pool. Most have it separately invested, so that if there's they can keep those separate, basically. So here's an example of some of the gift annuity rates for 2021. I wasn't able to find a chart like this to look at commercial annuities to compare, but like we said, they typically are a little bit higher but you don't get a deduction on a commercial annuity. So
I got to say, Kevin, this makes my heart go pitter pat when I think about some of my investments that are earning 0.02
yeah,
and 0.04. You know, I remember a time when we thought these interest rates were so low, and
right.
now they seem high, and we're glad to take advantage of them.
Contact just popped off my eye for a second. So here's how a gift annuity works. The donor, in this case, you go kind of the circle of a gift annuity, would contribute a gift of cash or appreciated other assets, create the charitable gift annuity, which would in turn create an income tax deduction and plus fixed income. So that means that income is fixed. It doesn't change going forward. And when the annuity terminates, it then the remainder, whatever's in the remainder, would go to, in this case, the Montana State University Alumni Foundation or whichever charity you have that annuity contract with. So we'll take a lesson from the old man of the mountain, and we'll learn about the old mountain family. So this is a 2-life annuity, charitable gift annuity. So Albert is 70, Albert is 72. They're going to do $10,000 in cash, and their charity they're going to work with is Boys and Girls Club. They're going to receive a $3,180 federal tax deduction for that. Then we calculate their Montana endowment tax credit because they're going to endow that. So they get $1,270. Then they're going to get $420 per life per year for 2 lives guaranteed. So that's the fixed amount. So whether the market goes up or down, they are going to receive $420 per year on that annuity. So then what does that look like? So we base this on our gift illustrations on life expectancy. Let's say they live right to their life expectancy and pass away at 87 and 90. And based on projections, there's $22,000 remaining. And then that $22,000 goes to support the program of importance for the old mountain family at Boys and Girls Club. Another example is the Mariposa Lily. So we're going to learn from the Mariposa family. So they decide Mark and Mary are both the same ages as Albert and Alberta, 70 and 72, but they're going to fund theirs with stock. So they have $10,000 worth of stock. They have $1,000 basis. They're going to work with the Alzheimer's Association. And theirs, they're going to get the 3180 federal deduction, the 1270 Montana endowment tax credit, but they're also going to reduce their capital gains. And when we were talking to Marcia, Marcia's like, well, how does that reduce their capital gain? If you want to click to the next slide, they'll still receive their $420 per year for both their lives. And for those of you that remember our 4-tier accounting, which if I remember my dad and his CPA teachings, worst first, how they tax it, so that instead of, if they were to sell that stock, they would face $9,000 worth of capital gains, whereas the 420 will be taxed at ordinary income, potentially capital gains. So what it does is it spreads out, or in some cases gets to a tax-free position on those income payments. So that's what we mean by reducing capital gains.
So it reduces it over time. So the longer I live, of course, the better off I am, right?
The longer you live, the more potential you have to get to where your payment is taxed less, yes, and potentially tax-free. So again, based on projections, we say Mark and Marie pass away at 87 and 90. Their remaining $22,000 goes to support a program of interest or importance at the Alzheimer's Association Montana chapter. So some thoughtful Thursday tip from the old man of the mountain and Mariposa Lily is consider the advantages of funding a charitable gift annuity with stock or cash. You can take the tax advantages of the charitable gift annuity, tax deductions, again, our Montana endowment tax credit if you're in Montana. And then also that fixed payment of the charitable gift annuity is that risk versus reward, I guess, on the market fluctuation of fixed payment in the market. So. And then now we have the heart-leaved Arnica. And Marcia, can you tell us how Champ could use a deferred gift annuity?
Okay, well, last year we had a lot of fun with Champ, or at least I did, because he was wanting to leave money to MSU Extension and also the 4-H program. Well, this week, Champ has changed his mind. What Champ wants to do is do a deferred charitable gift annuity, and he wants to recognize the International Society of Endangered Cats. And yes, this is a real organization. And so he also says, one of my goals is to minimize my Montana income taxes. And we know that was what he wanted to do last week. And probably he's the same as the rest of us. We like to minimize. We want to pay what we owe, but we want to minimize that. So in talking with Kevin, I found a run that he could do, a printout. And we can assume that if Champ is 40 years old, and does a 20,000 deferred gift annuity. So in other words, we're delaying those payments until 65. And Champ says, I'll take them then. Well, he's going to get a $2,613 federal tax deduction now. So that he's excited about that. And then he's also then going to receive the Montana endowment tax credit, and he gets that now. And then the payments that he's going to receive at age 65 is $1,640. So Champ is kind of excited about that, but he thinks, well, it doesn't cost me any more to try another run. And he says, if I have these funds that are left over, I know it's going to go to this International Society of Endangered Cats. But what I'd like to do is see the really result for taxes. So when he said his taxes are $6,730, he gets to take the credit, which is right off the amount of taxes that he owes, and he owes $5,685. Well, you'd think Champ would be totally impressed with that, but no. What Champ wants to do now is he says, hey, I want to eliminate all of my Montana income taxes. And I go, well, okay, let's take a look at that. So we see that what we're going to do is now look at Champ being 40 years old, but we're going to wait until he's age 79 to start those payments, because he thinks he's going to look real smart and still be able to do jumping when he's close to that age. So, wow. The thing that happens now is he's got a federal tax deduction of $16,826. And that's not bad. But his Montana endowment tax credit, because he's waiting till longer to take those payments, is $6,730. So what the Montana endowment tax credit does here is, by doing it in this fashion, he's totally eliminated his Montana income tax. And of course, Champ just can't resist. He's showing the printout to our friend Monty at the University of Montana. And he says, look here, Monty, I've got no tax that I'm going to have to pay because I did this $20,000 deferred gift annuity. Well, Monty, he's jumping for joy because he's going to establish a similar type thing at the University of Montana. So we've got Monty and Champ, our two icons for our universities, going together to team up. Now, let's say that Champ wants to think about what he's doing. And he says, well, if I hold the deferred gift annuity for 5 years, then I could surrender it. In other words, he's going to let technically those payments go to the International Society. And he transfers that. And then his designated charity is going to get them Now, what is going on with this slide? Can the Grizz? Kevin, have you been messing with my slides? Or is Emily the guilty party?
Yep, I think
Okay.
I think I threw that in there.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll hope that University of Montana folks will be charitable towards us. So we're seeing have a heart. Think about using a deferred gift annuity. And one way is when you're young and you want to secure some retirement income later on. And what it will do is maximize some of your tax savings now. It seems like we're hearing lots in the news about different kinds of taxes. So keep alert and see what goes on. Now here we have a Richardson geranium, and you know I like this one because I took it right after a rainstorm and the flower was okay, and there's the raindrops, and oh, I was excited about this. So Emily, why don't you introduce us to Granny Richardson?
Yeah, so Granny Richardson, we've seen her before, so let's look at some of her estate planning goals. So Granny Richardson wants for her estate and for herself to have some additional income, but she also wants to be able to support MSU. So what she has is a home in Bozeman. That's what she has to offer as an asset, and she's wondering if she can use that somehow to support Montana State University. And at the same time, she would like to move to a condo in Tucson where it's warmer and she doesn't have to worry about snow in May, and she can do water aerobics every single day. So she talks to Kevin at the MSU Alumni Foundation to ask him if he has any ideas for how she could use her house in Bozeman as a way to support the foundation. So Kevin explains, one way to achieve her goals is that she could gift her home to the Alumni Foundation in exchange for an annuity. So Kevin, do you want to explain how that would work?
Oh yeah, or you can. It's all good. So yeah, she would provide basically deed her house over in exchange for the annuity. MSU Alumni Foundation would help sell the home and then calculate those monthly payments. So what you will want to do though is check with the charity, because not all charities deal with real estate or deal with real estate with regards to charitable gift annuities. So will they accept it? How will they handle the property? Will there be a delay before the payments begin? And so in our case, we would provide a 1-year deferred annuity to Granny Richardson. So we're going to delay those payments for 1 year. So this gives us time to list and sell the house and make sure the market in Bozeman is still as crazy as it is right now today. Then the other thing to consider is how are those payments determined? And with charitable gift annuities, because it's an annuity and it's a contract and it's the date that contract, would actually need to be on the appraisal price. So this could be a little risk for the charity, because if the appraisal amount, and that's what we're basing the payments off of, is higher than what we end up selling it with, and this actually happened at a previous organization I worked with, then we're still obligated to make those payments based on the appraisal, but we might be underwater on the annuity. And that's again how are they invested, back to that other slide of kind of the insured by, or how do the charities guarantee those payments. So
And Kevin, how do you determine an appraisal? Do you have, who does something like that?
good question. So per the IRS, since these qualify for charitable tax deductions, needs to be what's called a qualified appraisal. So there's some very specific language within the IRS that determines what a qualified appraisal is, what things it has to say. So in this case, Granny Richardson would have to work with an appraiser to get the property appraised. And then that would have to meet the qualified appraisal standards, which is some additional language indicating that they are intending to take a tax deduction for it. So.
Okay, and then Granny Richardson is the one that pays for the appraisal then.
Correct.
Okay. Any idea how much something like that costs?
Oh my gosh, I should know.
Sorry, I hit you with that one, but
You
it
hit me
just
with that
occurred
one.
to me.
Yeah, we just had one actually with a charitable remainder trust, and I, yeah, I got my second vaccine shot yesterday, so I use that as my excuse of why I can't
Oh,
remember.
yes, understandable. I remember
Yeah,
mine
right.
too. Okay.
So again, some of the advantages, there would be that federal income tax deduction. There could be the Montana endowment tax credit, since she hasn't moved to Tucson yet. And then there's guaranteed income, fixed income for life for Granny. And Emily, do you want to talk about what Granny wanted to do with her funds?
Yeah, so she decided that with her funds to the Alumni Foundation, she wanted them to designate 50% to the College of Agriculture for scholarships, 25% to MSU Extension for family economics programming. Marcia, did
Woo!
you her to do that?
I'm
And then
excited.
25% to the Fergus County 4-H program, which sounds great to me because that's the 4-H program I help with.
Okay, now Emily, do a woohoo.
Woohoo!
All right.
So, as a result of that, the Montana State University Alumni Foundation also recognizes Granny Richardson through their Legacy Society.
Mhm. And tell us more about this Legacy Society,
Yeah,
Kevin. Who makes up that group, or
yeah, no, it's
how
a good
does it come
question.
about?
So, for those of you that know, MSU was founded in 1893, hence the name of our 1893 Society, Legacy Society. This is made up of anyone who has made a bequest or included MSU in their estate plans through a charitable remainder trust, annuity, like I said, bequest, otherwise. And so what we do is we have some specific news information, newsletters that we share with them. We also have an event, at least one event a year that we invite them to, and continue to try to engage them, introduce them to President Cruzado, other faculty members, students, etc., on campus to make sure that we're continuing to thank them for their future gift.
Yeah, and so it's like you're recognizing them before they die and we can
Correct.
enjoy it instead. Well, after they
Yes.
die, we say, well, yeah, wasn't that really great that Marcia did such and so?
We
So
do,
it's kind of neat.
we and other charities, we do like to know about these types of gifts and other requests, planned gifts, etc. Because we'd like to say thank you while the folks are still with us.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
had, I see in a chat that somebody put in about $500 for an appraisal. So thank you for whoever.
Okay. I
put
would have
that
thought
in.
it would be more than that. So that's good to know.
It depends on the property. The qualified appraisals may be a little more again, I can find that information and post it in the on the website. So.
Okay. And what do we got here?
Granny Richardson also gets to enjoy her aerobics classes in sunny Arizona. She was able to
Doesn't
get
that look nice?
her condo in Tucson. So when we think about our Richardson geranium, remember Granny Richardson, and that one way to fund a charitable gift annuity is with real estate. So now that you know about charitable gift annuities, the question is, do you think this is something you would use? Again, this is anonymous. We're not going to chase you down if you answer yes.
Oh, that would be really tacky, wouldn't it?
Yeah. This is just out of curiosity. Does this seem like a useful estate planning or giving tool?
Well, and I don't know how many presentations I've heard about charitable gift annuities, but it seems like it's one of those techniques that takes a while to absorb to say, oh, they can really do this, because it just almost seems like it's too good to be true. And if you're going to make a gift anyway to a favorite organization, it's certainly something to think about. So what do you think? What do we got here, Emily? Now we've got a few that are saying, yes, tell us more.
Yes, we've got a few that are saying yes, and then a lot of folks who are unsure, which is fine because, as Marcia mentioned, it can definitely be a big concept to wrap your head around a little bit.
So, Marcia, would you explore a testamentary charitable gift annuity? And yes, I'd like to add on, there are, we do have several long conversations about gift annuities. So yeah, sometimes it takes a while for adults to kind of sink in and to look at some gift illustrations and really ask the question, yeah, how does this work and will it work for me? But how about a testamentary charitable gift annuity, Marcia?
Okay, this one kind of interested me because it has my Explorer gentian here. And this is a flower that you'll see in Glacier National Park coming up, usually in August. And testamentary it's like writing a will, only this time we're seeing it's after you're gone. So you can have a will that would dictate that you want to establish some annuities for some of your beneficiaries. And then what happens is an annuity is set up for each one based on what their age would be, and that's what the payment would be. And we've got things that could work for that. For example, cash, you've got stock, you've got real estate, your individual retirement accounts. And then you need to think about who you would want to be your annuitants. As Emily said, what a strange name, but that's one you'll see in the print. And so it may be your children, it could be your grandchildren, other relatives, even some friends. So the nonprofit will want to know, of course, the legal name, the date of birth, and social security number, all those types of things to get something like that done. And then you'll need to think about, if you're wanting to do something like this, what kind of payments would you want to have go to your children or grandchildren? Do you want it to be monthly? Do you want it to be quarterly? Do you want it to be yearly? You know, you make the determination there of what you'd like to have. And then the ultimate decision is, which of your nonprofits do you want the remaining dollars that are there to go to? So if it's the Alzheimer's Association, if it's the Montana Community Foundation, wherever, you can make that decision. And then you can also think of what age that the annuity is going to be based on. You know, it's kind of like the lady that told me that she had a trust that was established by her parents, and she was not going to get access to that trust until she was 65. So you could have a similar type thing here to say, hey, I want this to be a retirement fund for my children or grandchildren. So work with your charity if you're thinking about doing something like this. And it's just a matter of sitting down, learning what they do, how they do it, and get your comfort level of what would be going on. And then you're still in control. You know, it's your money, by gum, and you want to have the rules. And in a sense, that's what an agreement is, of how you want it to be used by that particular organization. Because you could say, well, this could be used just for operating expenses. But most people don't want to do that. They want something special, you know, like a John Jones scholarship or whatever. You decide that. So a thoughtful tip from our Thursdays here is to continue to explore the testamentary option for a charitable gift annuity. It might be something that would be more appealing to you than starting one right now. Now, Kevin, how about using this foxglove to describe another type of charitable gift annuity?
Sure. So this goes along with the testamentary charitable gift annuity. And you mentioned in your assets that we could use on a testamentary, that IRA. And if those of you that attended the IRA session, or you're familiar with the old stretch IRA, with the Secure Act that was passed a couple years ago, there's no more stretch. So now it used to be you could the beneficiary of your IRA could stretch the required minimum distributions for their lives. Now it's a 10-year minimum. So we're going to take a look at the Fox family and how they or instead be Foxy. So you could potentially use a testamentary charitable gift annuity for that IRA. And in this case, we're going to work with our friends at the Montana Community Foundation. So Mark Fox is the dad. He's going to work with Montana Community Foundation. He has an IRA. He wants 2 testamentary charitable gift annuities. He's going to work with them on the gift designation. That's what does he want, and the gift agreement. That really spells out how Mark, the father, wants his ultimately those funds to be used and what they want to support with the Montana Community Foundation. So in this example, he has a $100,000 IRA. He has Evan, who's his son, who's 65, and he has Sally, his granddaughter, who's 35. And he wants to create annuities for both of them. So in that case, because Evan is 65, he could get a $50,000 immediate charitable gift annuity, but like Marcia's friend, Sally, they're going to defer her charitable gift annuity for 30 years and begin those payments at age 65. So she's got to wait a little longer. So in that case, Evan would start receiving a $2,100 annual payment, and Sally, if we defer it out for 30 years, would get $4,250.
And I remember when Kevin was sharing this with me, I said, well, that's hardly fair. How come she gets so much more than Evan does? And what'd you tell me, Kevin?
Said it's the deferral period lets it build over time, plus the annuity rate can become higher in that time frame as well. And they both would avoid probate. And you're probably asking, well, how would they avoid probate? And if you remember, again, from our IRA presentation or anything we've talked about as far as beneficiary designations, in this case, Mark would make Montana Community Foundation the beneficiary of that IRA with the agreement that in exchange, we're creating these annuities. So therefore, Evan and Sally and Mark would not pass through probate. It would go directly to the charity. And then when all of the Foxes have passed away, again, the funds go to the Montana Community Foundation for the purpose that Mark had originally designated. And Montana Community Foundation is going to recognize Mark for that contribution.
And the other thing I found, Kevin, maybe I decide that I want to give to my local community foundation instead of the Montana one. So I just did a little bit of research there, and I found out that we do have 76 local community foundations. So we have folks out there that, if you grew up in Glasgow and you like Glasgow and you want to help them out, then, you do that. And so there's places around the state that because of their local community foundation, they now have a pool for the kids, or maybe they've done a trail that people are walking on for health purposes and all types of things. So I was excited to see. I just didn't realize that we had 76 local community foundations in our state.
Again, we're all about equal opportunity on these Thoughtful Thursdays. We're not trying to promote necessarily any one charity over another. So, but in this case, the recognition would come from Montana Community Foundation for Mark the father's donation. This is fairly new, these testamentary charitable gift annuities, and then next week we will talk about testamentary charitable remainder trust as part of the remainder trust discussion. So again, you'll want to work with the charity, make sure they have experience, work with charitable gift annuities. I help. My colleagues across the state are willing to assist and help with any questions that any charity or individuals have, regardless of whether it's for Montana State or not. So, and Marcia's got an interesting question here. So,
yep, I already had a participant that emailed me this past week and said, what if a nonprofit or the charity goes belly up?
Right. So it's a good question. We hope that doesn't happen, but certainly it does. And in that case, the assets of that charity, whether they're endowments, et cetera, are typically passed to another similar organization. So if you've got a conservation charity, it might be Trust for Public Lands, or in one of the other conservation organizations would hopefully assume those. That's why the other thing is most charities, and this is why you want to work with the charity and check with them, invest their annuities in a separate annuity pool. So that then helps kind of guarantee that preservation of that asset, that pool. That again, it's a good question to ask. And that then becomes, again, that is a contract. They're supposed to make those payments. And then in that case of them going belly up, the annuitant would be looked at kind of like a creditor for that organization, or the new wherever it's transferred to, if that makes sense. So if they don't have a separate annuity pool, meaning if they kind of mix, which they shouldn't, but if they do mix the annuity pool with their other assets or their endowment funds or their other accounting, I would push the pause button on that if I were a donor. So.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like there's a lot of things to take in consideration for sure.
Again, you've heard me throughout these sessions say, talk to the charity, talk to the charity. And it's not that we want to hound you or track you down or say, come on, are you going to make that gift? It's that we really want to be able to help you with these decisions, make sure you understand it, work with your other advisors. We work with financial advisors, CPAs, attorneys a lot as well, making sure that you have a full picture and how these vehicles, as we call them, might help in your entire plan. So the tip from the Foxglove, again, you can outfox changes in the law, specifically the Secure Act with an IRA, by creating a testamentary charitable gift annuity. So Marcia, do we have more information that we want to share?
Well, we do. We have an extension month guide with annuities, so you can learn sort of the ins and outs and what annuities are all about. We're not as acquainted with annuities as I think we are some of our other financial tools. And then the MSU Alumni Foundation has a document here. Tell us more about this one, Kevin.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, this is our previous version, so don't look at that annuity rate table. That was a few years ago, but we're in the process of redoing this, updating it. But this is a one-sheeter that's got some basic information, how it works. It's also got an example donor story. So it can, sometimes we find that it's better hearing from others and kind of how they've found benefit in these charitable gift annuities and why they did it. And then you can say, oh, that might apply to me. So we always try to promote some of those other stories of folks that have done these.
Yeah, and I've read some of those and I go, well, gee, that it makes it more believable, I guess. Even if I know the people, I go, oh, okay, if they did this, well, I could do that for sure too. And don't forget, we do have other resources at the website for Thoughtful Thursdays. And even when we're done with this particular series, that will remain on the web for a period of time, unless we decide, well, we're going to redo some of the information and pop out the old recordings and pop in some new ones with that. Well, as I look at the clock here, I see that our time has once again slipped away. And I hope we did steer you to an awareness of the differences between a charitable gift annuity and some of those commercial annuities that are out there. And then I hope we did steer you too to an awareness of how a charitable gift annuity could provide you with some income, reduce your taxes, and be able to support your charity at the same time, or also your nonprofit. And if you don't have a memory like this elephant's head, and some of us are old enough to remember our grandma telling us that, elephants remember everything, especially the water hole. Well, we've got estate planning month guides. I have now 47 of those available at our website. So all you have to do is click on estate planning publications, go through the 47 and see which one would be appropriate for you. We also have these available at our county extension offices. So if you happen to be in town and want to take advantage of your extension office, please do that. Then the Alumni Foundation. Describe this, Kevin, what you've got there.
Yeah, so our plangiving.msuaf.org, we have several resources, smart ways to give. We have a gift calculator that has been, it was a little buried. I was looking for it the other day, and so I talked with our website folks, and we're going to put that up where it's a little more easily accessible. So things you can go in there and say, would this work for me? How might I give a certain asset, or how does a annuity work or a trust work, and run some of those calculations yourself. And again, we're not going to track you down and hound you if you go in and use our gift calculator. So it's like if you go and use one of the mortgage calculators on one of the bank sites, you don't necessarily want them to call you and say, hey, are you ready to refinance?
Yeah, for sure. But it is neat to be able to do some of those calculations. I mean, in the old days, even if you had a fancy calculator, you couldn't do it. And now we can do these things online, and it gives us a chance to research some of this out for ourselves. And I think what Kevin said about, you know, the nonprofits, the community foundation says the same thing. We don't care if you're going to give it to whatever, we'll help you. I mean, they feel like they're all in this together because everything is going to benefit the state of Montana, and that's really what we're about.
Well, and really it's benefit for you, the participants, and how does it help you in your overall planning? And that's really what myself and my colleagues across the state, across the country are really trying to help.
Okay, and we really have appreciated your participation in our webinars. And we've got one left for Thoughtful Thursdays, and we're looking forward to seeing you on May 13th. And the session is on charitable remainder trusts. And I like that name, the Give It Twice Trust, because when I've seen that in the popular press, I go, what are they talking about? Well, after you attend this session, you'll have an idea as well. So Emily, do we have any questions in the chat room today?
So we just have a couple that came up. One of them asked if the charitable gift has to be to a Montana organization.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah, not at all. Other institutions, most higher education, hospitals, community foundation in other states, et cetera. So no, it doesn't at all have to be.
But the Montana endowment tax credit, if they're going to get that, that does need to be a Montana organization, a 501c3.
Yep, in Montana.
And then someone else is just wondering if you could explain the process of annuities a little bit more of,
Sure.
you know, if like in the example of Granny Richardson giving her house to the Alumni Foundation, how does the Alumni Foundation make money off of that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So, so whether it's real estate, cash, stock, et cetera, to get very technical, they are split interest gifts. That's what they're considered. So the charity has an interest, and the annuitant or annuitant, in the case of two lives, spouses, have an interest. So what the agreement is the charity is going to pay that payment. So they're going to invest those funds because they need to have the investment in order to make those payments. And then after the annuity is all done and finalized, and our generous donors have passed away or have surrendered the annuity, those funds then come to us. In our case, we have a modest, it's a 5% gift fee that helps make sure that we put those funds to use. We can uphold the gift agreements, et cetera, work with MSU. And that's how we quote unquote make our money. Again, we're a nonprofit, so our profit is really about mission accomplishment. But yes, we do need some expertise. We need staff to help with those future funds. But that's how we would do it. We also have an investment management fee, basically our endowment fee. So on our endowments, and that's 1.9%. So we calculate all that. And then if you really want to know how MSU Alumni Foundation makes their money, we also have a fairly modest contract with the university. So basically the university is saying, hey, instead of Marcia and Emily and faculty saying, oh my gosh, we have to go out and try to do our regular extension work, but also try to help fundraise for us, they've contracted basically with us. And our sole purpose as a 501c3 is to raise funds in support of Montana State University. So it's kind of our three, probably more than you wanted to know, but we're transparent, happy to share any of our gift fees, endowment fees, etc. with anybody.
Yeah.
And
Well, I have a question, Kevin, about the legal agreements. Would I be expected to go find an attorney that would help me with that, or do you have a attorney on retainer that would help do those agreements?
Yeah, so our gift annuity contracts, they're 2 pages, maybe 3, 2.5. We've had attorneys review those. We do have an attorney that works closely with us. We have several that we work with, one in particular, more on our trusts. And so, no, you wouldn't necessarily have to have your own attorney draft your own contract. That is a service we provide. We would put together the gift illustrations. We would put together the annuity contract, provide those to you so that you could again go review them with your CPA, with your attorney, etc. if you wanted to. We also work with a firm, it's TIAA Caspic, and they handle kind of the nonprofit investments. So they're the ones that help us manage and invest our annuity pool, our trusts, etc. So, and we can talk a little more about that next week as well. But same with trusts, we help assist with the drafting of the trust documents. Initially, that's a effort we take, an expense we take on, and work with our legal. Again, we always recommend that you review them with your own advisors, because your advisors know your full financial picture. We may only know one piece of it, say this annuity or a trust or something else.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Emily, are there any other questions there that have come in?
Just one more, going back to that question about what assets can be used for a charitable gift annuity. Were all of them available to be used? Does it depend on the charity? Someone's asking.
No, it's a good question. We didn't answer that. Yes, the IRA, again, you can't use your IRA now while you're alive to fund an annuity. But you could use cash, you could use stock, you could use mutual funds, you could use real estate, gold coins. I haven't had the gold coins.
Gold coins are no longer acceptable. I remember back in the day when they first came about, you could almost put anything in an IRA. But in this particular change in the law, no more gold coins. If you've already got some, you're fine, but you can't do it now. So, and the Bitcoin.
So the cryptocurrency is again, that's an I don't know right now, because again, they're challenging to value. But again, that's why you would want to talk with the charity, because not all charities accept real estate for annuities. I think I mentioned that because of the challenge. And like I said, my previous organization that I worked for had that case where they took a $600,000 piece of property that they thought was worth $600,000 in exchange for an annuity. So they started making those payments. It took them over 3 years to sell that property, and they sold it for more than $200,000 less than what the appraised value came in at. So now they're having to use other assets from that organization in order to pay that annuity payment. So that's what I mean by underwater. And some organizations, they don't want to deal with real estate just based on the complexities. I've talked with our CFO about cryptocurrency, not with regards to annuities, but other gifts of cryptocurrency, and we're kind of like, don't know. We'll wait and see what happens if we have any donors that are interested in that. Then we'll have to talk to a bunch of other advisors, I'm sure, to learn.
Well, and I think that brings up other reasons to talk to the nonprofit, because I can remember, some cases where you think, well, people are going to leave it to MSU, and then MSU gets it and discovers, no, we can't afford to operate it, or, and there are times when a gift is rejected, even after the fact, it was testamentary, but if MSU doesn't accept it, then it goes here type of thing. And so, you really want to make sure it's going to work. It's worth having that conversation about, so that you know.
Well, and you bring up a good point too, is Montana State University versus Montana State University Alumni Foundation. It's important to have that specific designation, because there is, not that the funds might not end up going ultimately to where they need to go, but it creates a little more work or heartache or headache potentially on MSU and the foundation. So that's where early on, if we talk with them, we say, well, actually, you're going to designate it to the MSU Alumni Foundation in the case of Granny Richardson, right? So we would manage those funds, but they're for the benefit of the College of Agriculture, 4-H in Fergus County, and Extension, the family
Economics.
Yes. So that's kind of that intricacy that on the surface, most people are like, well, it's MSU. I'll just leave it to MSU. Any other questions? Or
I don't think we've had any other ones come up, unless you guys have something else to add.
well, again, I'm happy to help. Other charities I know are happy to help. And I have a number of other connections, colleagues, advisors that I work with, not only here in Bozeman, but across Montana and across the country. So if we don't know the answer to something, we have kind of a network we reach out to and say, hey, have you worked in this, or have you worked with these types of gifts, or help me, tell me more. So again, I always offer that out to everybody as well.
Okay. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody that has participated in Thoughtful Thursdays. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Emily and Carrie out there still working away. We appreciate everybody being involved, and we still invite you back for next Thursday. And, we all learn a little bit at a time. And once again, if you need to hear it more than once, it's recorded. Thanks to Emily, we have recordings, and you'll be able to listen again and maybe get it a little bit more clear. So until next Thursday, we'll wish you a good weekend, and be safe and keep healthy. Bye-bye.